Hello everyone! Today we're going to be jumping into Historic Brawl with the Hourglass Coven, getting ready for our Halloween season with our Hag Warlocks here. Now, the Hourglass Coven is a 6-mana 3/3 creature. However, when it enters the battlefield, we get to draft a card from this Hourglass Coven spellbook 2 times and put those cards onto the battlefield. And additionally, other warlocks we control are going to have +1/+1. So if we take a look at some of our options here, there are 9 potential witches that we could get, ranging with a variety of effects, all of which will most negatively impact our opponents, their creatures in their board state, or give us some additional value in terms of scrying, putting ward on some of our other warlocks, and giving menace to our warlocks as well. Now, that being said, we do have some warlock synergy in this deck. We've got our Cursebound Witch, which is a warlock. We also have the Fairy Dream Thief, which is a warlock. And again, a lot of our creatures will be filling that warlock niche. We have Ward Pay 3 life here. This is another warlock, which is going to benefit off of Witchcraft as well, creating more creatures for us. Now, outside of the warlocks, we do have a bunch of ramp and a lot of value in our spells. So we're running Arcane Signet through Celestis in terms of all of our ramp artifacts. Definitely want to make sure we can get up to that 6-mana spot. But when it comes to that other value, we have our Virtue here to bring creatures back from our graveyard. This actually synergizes really well with our commander, because we can let our commander go to the graveyard and get more enter the battlefield effects off of this. Breach the Multiverse is going to do a similar thing for us. And of course, we have some Planeswalkers. So Professor Onyx to slowly drain out our opponent with that Witchcraft ability and give us additional value, and Liliana the Dreadhorde General. Really just good ways to close out games at the top end of our deck, giving us different ways to secure those wins. We have a little bit of removal with Blood in the Snow and Crux of Fate. Being able to clear the board is going to be pretty strong for us. And our early game, we're going to be focusing on having some removal spells for our opponent and disrupting their hand as well. Aside from that, everything else is fairly straightforward. We're basically just playing a mono black deck here with a little bit of a thematic dive towards those warlocks in the spirit of Halloween. Now, if you guys have been enjoying my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos, and if you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, on the play. Now, this isn't a bad starting hand. But I do think we are going to take a mulligan. This is going to be much better for us. We definitely want to find a little bit of ramp so we can work towards getting our commander out. And Necropotence here is going to be really strong for us in terms of getting the card draw we need. We play out our black land so we can hold up, cut down. Opponent plays a tap land. I'm going to go Mindstone here. Now our opponent is playing a Giants deck. So I'm not expecting too much out of the early turns. Gonna end the turn here. We'll have a lot more options next turn, and of course we have removal if our opponent does decide to play a creature. Yep. Let's see. Yep. Sacrifice a non-token. This is not targeted, so opponent's just going to go ahead and lose that. Moving on to my turn. And I think we are going to go ahead and play out the Necropotence here and start paying some life. We're going to go for 5 cards. Now, the reason we want to draw them now is just so we have a little bit more information on what we're going to be looking at. Looks good. We're going to sacrifice that to Eldest, use Eldest Reborn to have our opponent sacrifice this. We actually don't need to draw a card, so there was no reason to pay life that last turn. Opponent's gonna go ahead and sacrifice their commander here. And we'll end the turn. Things are looking pretty good for us. Let's draw a card. Opponent's gonna discard a card. Alright, let's play our land. Now we can get out our coven this turn, and I am gonna go for it. Looks like we do get it. Now we do have Not Dead After All, which is gonna be really strong for us. Let's see, I like the ward here. And let's make some skeletons. Can go ahead and pass our turn here. Ideally, our opponent plays a removal spell targeting our main warlock. That way we could play Not Dead After All and get 2 more. It should be tempting, because this is the one that gives the buff. Nope, they just don't want to pay that ward cost any more than they have to. That's fine. Alright. Exerts. I really want them to pick the Hourglass Coven. Yep. They do pay the 2 life. We're not going to move our commanders to the command zone, because it's going to come back for us. Gonna get some more warlocks out onto the battlefield. Let's just lose some more life here. Opponent says good game. And it looks like we've got it. Alright, we've got our opponent going first, and we're up against Atraxa. We've got a good amount of removal here. So I actually don't mind this. I think we're going to keep this starting hand. We can go ahead and use this as a removal spell, or we can hold on to it, and think about using it as a land as well to ramp us. So we do have some options. Right off the bat, since I know we're up against Atraxa, we do want to hold on to this, because there's a decent chance that they're not going to be running too many non-basic lands. Now, of course, our opponent is still thinking about their free mulligan. We, right off the bat with Divest, are going to have a decent understanding of what their hand is. Gonna draw a card with the Zealot as well. So, all's looking pretty good here. No need for the mulligan for us. Opponent starts with a tapped land. Now, I think Thoughtseize is going to be higher value than Divest. Actually, no. I think we're going to go with Divest first here. It's going to give us all the information we need. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Doesn't actually hit anything. Prologue to Phyresis will be an issue if our opponent uses that. But they do not, so we're actually in a pretty okay spot. We're going to use Thoughtseize here and just get rid of that. We don't want our opponent to give us a poison counter and start proliferating. Alright, we're going to play out the Zealot here. If we get Memory Lapse, that's an added bonus for us. And we've been doing good on drawing lands as well. Let's try and play out the Witch, see if we can draw Memory Lapse. Yep. That does it, and that's fine by me. Opponent's looking for a land, and it seems like they did find it. They're gonna shock, play Atraxa. Let's see. We're gonna go with Soul Shatter here. And I think we're gonna play this as the tapped land to guarantee we'll have access to 6 mana next turn, so we can think about the Coven. Opponent's putting a lot in their graveyard again. I think they're just looking for more lands. Let's go with the Hourglass Coven here. Let's see. Scry 2 is going to be good for us. And we'll take Ward for some protection. Alright, they flipped it. Get another land. And they probably have some form of removal spell, but we just got 3 creatures onto the battlefield. I mean, 6 mana for 9 power and 3 effects is always going to be pretty good. And no matter what our opponent does, if they do play out something that we don't want to deal with, we can always just exile it after playing our Witch. Our Witch is going to have Ward, because it's a Warlock. Let's see. Imprison in the Moon. Alright. Opponent's giving us some ramp. I'm actually fine with that. Getting rid of our ability to scry. Well, we play out the Witch first. And honestly, I'm not really afraid of anything that our opponent is going to do, so we're going to go with this. We're going to get our Insect. Force our opponent to discard. And then we'll get a random high-value card if they don't choose to discard a second card. This is going to help level the playing field for us just a little bit and bring us back ahead. So that way we keep having a little bit more steam. We can swing in for 3 damage after this as well. Opponent's thinking about what they discard. They discard a Nissa. Are they going to discard again? They very well might. They do. So we'll just swing and end the turn. Now we have Baleful Mastery, which is going to be really strong. I think best case scenario is our opponent's going to tap out for something. Time Warp. Okay, I mean, that's fine. This is basically Explore that they're playing here. Yep, they found their land. And now we know everything in their hand, and that our opponent has. We have good damage on the board.
Embrace metal. Oh, stone.
Yep, that's fine. We'll pay the full 4, get rid of Vraska.
My defiance never dies.
Get our opponent down to 3. And we're gonna pretend we have something. Hold up our snow-covered swamp. Now we do have Menace here. Shocked, and alright, we've got it. Alright, on the play up against the Scarab God, and this is a keepable hand. I like having early Sheoldred's Edict. We have Languish and Crux of Fate, so we have plenty of board wipes. Notably, both of these are going to hit any of the boards that our opponent's going to try creating with the Scarab God, so I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot. Really, all we want to see is some more lands at this point. Cauldron's Gift is a fun one as well, letting us return a creature from our graveyard. Alright, it's Duress. We'll see. I think Edict is a really strong hit for our opponent, but either of the board wipes would make sense as well. Yep, they go with the Edict. We drew a land, so that's good. Right, Mind Spike. 2 can play at the forcing discard. Alright, what do I want to deal with here? Ramp for our opponent we don't really care about. We don't really care about the creature destruction either. Jace is going to give good value, but I think the discard is going to be worse for us in the short term. I'm thinking we'll see Jace here. Yep. Jace is going to be able to get a decent amount of value for our opponent. We just want to find some more castable spells, really.
I will shatter your mind.
Alright, well, we found Shieldred. So one more land is going to put us in a pretty good spot. What did our opponent hit? Just some removal. Liliana Dreadhorde General's gone. Phyrexian Arena would have been nice, but... And I'm not too concerned. Hedron Archive, that's fine. Probably gonna plus. And I want to have Shieldred ready. Guardian Idol, okay, that's gonna set us up for Shieldred. I actually don't hate that as a draw. And if we do find a land, we are in Hourglass Coven territory. Yep.
You can be made to
Scarab God, sure. Now our opponent might be holding on to a counterspell. We know that they have Feed the Swarm as removal. I think we're going to play out Shieldred anyway, though. Inquisition? Sure. Now they know what's going to happen. We find a land. Let's play out Shieldred here. Yep. Opponent doesn't have a lot of choices as to what they have to sacrifice here. They either get rid of Jace or the Scarab God. They actually get rid of the Scarab God, so Jace is too important. Back in their hand, that's fine. Yep.
our plans are beyond your comprehension.
Scarab God is back. Lots of non-land cards. That's probably the best one to hit. Leave us with the board wipes. Alright, let's go with the Bog. We'll exile our opponent's graveyard. And then play out the Coven. I know that exiling the graveyard goes a little bit against some of our other strategies. Let's take the Scrying here. Let's take the Ward. No attacks. All things considered, we're in a pretty good spot. Sure, Shieldred's dead. And opponent's gonna lose some life for that. They're down to 1 card in hand. There's a chance that they actually sacrifice their archive to draw cards here. No, that's what I would consider one of the strongest plays from this position. But they're just gonna mill us a whole bunch instead. Sure. Nothing too crazy that they hit. We get to scry too. And actually, I don't think we want either of those. Let's find Phyrexian Tower. Now, let's see. Honestly, We're gonna sacrifice the Hourglass Coven to add 2 mana. Move it to the command zone. Replay our Hourglass Coven. Get some more hags. Let's see. I think Ward is going to be better than the Scrying one, just to keep around. We are about to get 2 more. Drain our opponent. Drain our opponent. Looking pretty good. We've got a whole coven coming together here. Now we can wipe the board if we need to. But as it currently stands, things are looking alright for us. Finding some card draw would be really big for us. Ristic Study. Alright, it's probably a little late for that. Both of our Hags of Siphoned Breath are going to be really strong. I mean, together they negate whatever damage Shieldred does. And also put some damage on our opponent for each of our upkeeps. Pay 2 life. Yeah, sure. We'll see. Our opponent might not attack with the Scarab God out of fear of us blocking and killing it. And that's the best case scenario for us. As long as our opponent's not actively... Yeah, no attacks. That's pretty good for us. I mean, I'll just play the land. Our opponent will know what we have now, and we're just passing the turn at this point. My guess is that they should exile something with the Scarab God, but we'll see. They've not been playing super optimally. Next turn, we might want to do the same thing where we sack Hourglass Coven and replay it, get some more. Sure, Murderous Rider. 4/4. The lifelink will make a difference there. Alrighty. Combat. Probably gonna swing with the Murderous Rider, and that alone. Yep. We'll just take this. Again, we get rid of that with our Siphoned Breath Hags. And if our opponent does decide to plus the Jace and hit one of our creatures, which have Ward, they will lose some life because of it. Yeah. See if they pay. They do not. They're starting to get a little cautious with their life total. Alright, we find a land. Let's sacrifice our Hourglass Coven. Back to the command zone you go. Replay ya. Ristic Study, pay the 1. No card for our opponent. Maybe they have a counterspell, but it seems like they don't. So now we get two more warlocks. Perfect. Really increasing the damage to our opponent here. Slow and steady. We're going to be closing out the game. And if anything goes wrong, we can just kind of remedy things with a board wipe. Yep. Opponent's gonna be making some more zombies. But it's not really gonna be enough for them. Yep. Some scry triggers. They're going to be able to deal some damage here. Keep in mind, though, that we are going to be gaining 8 life on each of our upkeeps. So we are going to be negating almost half of our opponent's damage each turn. And even more importantly, we are going to be draining our opponent for 8. So they're going to be losing 4 life each turn. Because they can gain 4 off of our Murderous Rider. Overall, things are looking pretty good for us, though. We are getting close. If we do draw another land, we can just sacrifice Hourglass Coven and get 2 more Warlocks. That is always an option for us. Opponent swings out for combat, leaves the Scarab God back. No blocks. We go down to 4. Opponent goes up to 15. Now, I am kind of hoping we see that land there so we can replay our Hourglass Coven and find the Menace Hag. That would be really strong for us. Alright, Languish, sure. Back to the command zone she goes. Murderous Rider goes to the bottom of our library, I guess. Or no, it stays in exile.
We can improve upon your ideas.
Blood on the Snow. Are there any creatures left for us to get that are going to be worth getting above? Actually, maybe Planeswalker with Liliana? I do kind of like that. We will destroy all creatures. And we'll pay the 1. Scarab God can try and exile some stuff out of our graveyard if they want to. But it seems like they don't. We're going to take Liliana, Dreadhorde General. That's fine. And we're going to plus for a zombie. We'll eventually be able to get some more card draw.
Help is easy to find in war.
Animate our idol. Kill the Jace.
Retreat is the sensible action.
And opponent gets the Scarab God back in their hand for their next turn. Which is going to be fine with us. I think in next turn we'll just wipe the board again. Now that we have Liliana, we can just start ticking her up each turn. Getting some additional value that way. Sure. There's the Scarab God. We really want to keep Liliana alive. And if we can get to that -9, it's going to be game over. Demolition Field. Alright, let's go ahead and destroy all non-dragon creatures. We will pay the 1. We'll draw a card. We find a Relic of Legends, which we'll play. And pay the 1. And make ourselves a zombie.
Rise and shine.
Now, next turn, we can think about the Coven. I think we attack first. If they block with the Scarab God, kill it with Languish. Alright, we've got a couple of different options here. First and foremost, let's attack. Alright. Creature dies, we'll draw a card. So now this is we're looking at a Languish angle. We will pay the 1. Of course, our opponent can't activate the Scarab God in response here. Because we're just gonna hit whatever they reanimate with Languish. So that's gonna go back into the hand. And actually, because this is a triggered ability, we're just gonna go ahead and put the Scarab God back in our opponent's command zone. We'll pay the 1 here. Exile it. Nice. That also gains us some life. Let's go Solemn Simulacrum. Pay 1. Get a land. And we'll plus here. So now we're looking at the ability to hit that -9 ability next turn. Force our opponent to sacrifice almost all of their lands. And we've got it. Alright, so as we saw, we can get some insane value out of the Hourglass Coven. Now, sure, 6 mana for a 3/3 seems pretty bad, but when it's 6 mana for 3 3/3s, that's actually decent in terms of stats, especially when paired with the fact that we have a bunch of different effects to choose from, depending on what we need at any given time. Of course, this strategy for this game is going to be mainly revolving around getting Hourglass Coven out onto the battlefield, and then having it leave and re-enter the battlefield multiple times so we can take full advantage of all those ETB triggers. But we do have a normal mono-black game plan as well, where we have a ton of high-value cards that are going to help us out. A lot of the time, at the top end of our deck, if we can land either of our Planeswalkers and protect them, we're going to be sitting in a really strong spot, and this deck is designed to do that, where we can kind of just sit back, deal with our opponent's threats as they play them, and incrementally develop a board that's eventually going to be enough to secure us the win. Now, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you have any ideas for another deck you'd like to see me play, why don't you let me know in a comment down below. I'll see you all next time.